How I saved 100K by 25. It may feel like an absolute grind and a far-fetched dream that you'd have six figures locked away in the bank. Well, I've been through the process, and today I'm going to share my steps that I took and all the tips and tricks that I took to get my first six figures locked in. So if you want to learn how to save, make, and invest your money and have six figures locked in the bank, grab that coffee and let's lock in. So my journey starts right after university, and I have one key objective: make that first six figures. But I have a key problem. I'm on minimum wage and I have a biology degree. And biology is down there with the humanities and arts in terms of its earning potential. And I knew if I was going to hit my goal, I needed the right vehicle that could take me there. From my experience, a lot of the time, people making what they want and not may just be down picking the wrong vehicle. They're not in an industry or a profession or a career that's ever going to have, they're never going to meet their earning potential. Now for you, this could be investment banking. It could be law. It could be in medicine. For me, it was sales and marketing and commercial. But for you, I would probably say get into AI and automations, which is the space I'm in now. I learned everything that was possible about assessment centers, aptitude tests, interviews, and I managed to get my top choice offer at BP, earning 50K straight from university. Now, most people are gonna have two key problems: an income problem and a saving problem. The saving problem is something we can tackle right now, and you can take action today to save yourself some money. I'm gonna share a ton of tips. But when I was actually at BP, people were earning double, triple what I was earning, and they were not able to save what I was. I prefer you to be on 50K, saving half of it, than 100K saving none of it. So how do you actually get your expenses down? Well, when I started my graduate scheme, I sat down in the first week with a Barclays advisor, and I was earning about £2,100 after my deductibles, my taxes, my shares, my pensions, everything that I'd invested in, and before all of my bonuses. And I sat down and I set up 3 direct debits. 1, you need to create a budget. 2, you need to automate it. 1 direct debit went to my landlord, £700. 1 direct debit, £700, went to my spendings account, and 1 direct debit, £700, went to my savings account. And even the advisor looked at me and said, £700, pretty ambitious, dude, to live on. And he was right. I wasn't able to do it for 1 month out of 12 because I went on a £700 holiday. But for 11 of the 12 months, I shot to the stars and I hit the moon. I was able to save it for 11 of 12 months, which meant in my first year, I was saving almost a 10K figure. And I don't know about you, that looks pretty nice sat in the bank. And once I was at that point though, I said, I am never in my life going below this. This is zero. Now, how did I actually get my expenses down to the point where I could save what was over £1,000 when you combine my pensions, my shares, and my actual savings? Well, you need to look at your expenses. We can tackle Netflix and coffees, and they're gonna make some marginal gains, and definitely look at all that stuff. But the biggest thing that's going to move the needle is your accommodation. There are 3 things you can do to get your accommodation costs down. Number 1, the biggest, cleverest, most genius thing you can do is called house hacking. Buy a house or rent a house and sublet the 2 rooms, hopefully 2 rooms, maybe 3, 2 rooms to your friends, family, or find someone on spare rooms. 2 rooms in a property should let out all of the costs from it. You can get your accommodation by subletting, something called house hacking, down to 0. I've done this multiple times and it is freaking genius. The second thing you can do is just be the person in one of them spare rooms. There's only so expensive a spare room can be. I don't care if it's in Bristol, Oxford, Cambridge. There's only so expensive a house can actually be, a room can actually be. So I was able, when I moved to Swindon for my second placement, get my accommodation down to £420. Now, there was someone on my team who was spending over £2,000 on her flat. She wasn't prepared to share a bathroom with someone like I was for £400. Now, I don't want you to live like this forever, but this video isn't entitled how to have the most rockin', raging, great time on planet Earth. This video is titled how to make money, how to save money, and how to be financially independent by the time you're in your mid-20s. She wasn't prepared to do that, hence why she was 30 and she didn't have as much money as me. The third way is living with parents. Now, this is my least favorite. I didn't have the family stability that some people like you might have. But I found a lot of people after university went back to their hometown, lived with their parents, got a great job, and they used that opportunity to save. The big mistake they make is they move in with their parents, they get comfy, they stay there way too long, and all of that great savings they're making, they spend it on traveling. And the craziest thing that a lot of people I see make time and time again, the biggest mistake is buy a really expensive car. Now, if you are considering living with your parents, do not be that person who has a really fancy BMW sat on their mum's driveway just to have wasted a year to buy a 10, 20K car plus a little bit of finance. I still to this day drive a strong and stable Ford Focus that cost me less than a grand. And when I was on my grad scheme, I drove a nippy little Citroen C2 that cost me about £400. There's plenty of cars that will get you from A to B that don't cost 10K. I'm now at a point where I could buy multiple Teslas outright, but until you're at that point, do not buy that expensive car. Now, you don't go from 0 to 100K like that in the bank. And if you are, you're doing it on nightmare mode, particularly in this economy. Inflation, I don't care what they say, is at least 5-10%. Anyone who's bought shopping these days, it's crazy expensive. You are literally a salmon swimming upstream if you are just saving and put it into a bank. Think of your money, every single pound, as a little worker that's either sat there taking a tea break or working hard for you to make your money. We're going to go with that. We're going to put them to work and we're going to maximize it. And investing, this may sound super scary and crazy, and you may think, well, it's going to be pointless if I've only got a couple of grand. It's not. You're going to overestimate what you can do in a year and underestimate what you can do in 10. Have a long-term perspective. That couple of grand plus topping it up every single month, I promise you, will eventually snowball. And like myself, you'll get zero gains for years and you'll get everything all at once. And I'll explain that a little bit why that happens later in the video. Think of investing as a bit of a pyramid. Start off with your strong and stable foundations and work up to high risk investments. So what should you actually invest in? First and foremost, the thing you should be investing in is to a pension. If you are like me, earning over 50K, you are classed in the UK as a high income earner, which is criminal and crazy, and they steal 40% of your money in income tax, 9% in national insurance, and then a few extra percent for your student loan. So anything above that, if you're earning 55, 60K, when I got pay rises, I just bumped up the amount I was putting into my pension to make sure that I kept 100% of that money, because everything you put into a pension, you invest 100% of it. In the UK, you get a 20K tax-free allowance that you can spend every single year. It's not rolling, so you can't accumulate it. You have to use it or you lose it. And this is a 20K invisibility cloak for your investments from the government. So if you put 20K into that and it goes to 200 grand, you get 100% of that tax-free and you get to keep every single penny of it. And I would say this is probably the second thing you should invest in. Now, what is that? You can do a savings account, but what I do is an investment ISA and I buy index funds. What's an index fund? An index fund is just a basket of stocks, and I've got tons across Europe, Japan. My highest performer is the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones. This is American markets. What's the S&P 500? It's literally the 500 most biggest and publicly traded companies in the US. Think Tesla, think Meta, think Amazon. In the UK, think Shell, Barclays, HSBC. And that is what my portfolio is made of. A small fraction of lots of companies, very diversified. And I promise you, over the last 5 years, I've made a ton of money immensely passively, all tax-free, by just throwing it into an investment ISA. And the third thing, and this is not news, but it's to buy property. I've invested in everything, cryptocurrencies, I've got commodities, honestly, if there's an investment, rare fish, I have bought it at once upon a time. But I've made more money by just buying and holding a house and doing nothing with it, just giving it a bit of time, than I've done with any other investments. You're not going to get rich through cash flow and through rent. I don't care how much you're charging for your Airbnb. You'll never make a crazy amount of money doing that. And the genius thing about this, if you do the house hacking as well as you buy the property, you've not only netted your expenses, your accommodation expenses down to zero, you are making money on autopilot for appreciation. This is where we start to have a little bit of fun and we invest in fruity, fresh investments. What do I mean by fruity, fresh investments? I mean high risk investments. We've got 90% of our money in strong and stable, low yielding 7 to 10% return investments, and we are strong and stable making money on autopilot. But I was about 60, 70K into my journey after a couple of years, and I wanted to speed run the final a bit of money to get me over that 6-figure mark. And to be able to condense them timelines, I knew I had to take some risk. So what I did is I allocated 10% of my money, 5% up to 10%, and I put it into high risk investments. Think Bitcoin, think rare fish, don't think rare fish. Think commodities, think individual stocks, AI stock, tech stocks. And I put 3 grand into a Coinbase account and I bought Ethereum, Bitcoin, and a few other altcoins. And I timed it magnificently. That 3K went to 35K in just a few months. Now, if you, again, want me to go through my individual stocks, I can. There's things like Palantir, Meta, Tesla, gold and silver's done immensely well. Obviously, Bitcoin and Ethereum have paid their dividends and some. They've pretty much done a 10x on me. So if you want me to go through actually what all my investment individual picks are, I can do. I can maybe do that as a separate video to the index funds, or I can just run through my entire investment portfolio. Now, this is the most critical and most important part of the process. I'm now at 100 grand, but it took me 5 years of pure grind. However, the next 100K took me a year, and the next 100K I saved took me less than a year, because I started to leverage compound interest and my money started to make money on autopilot as that interest snowballed. One of the graduates on the scheme introduced me to his friend, as this is Adam, the guy who's wore the same suit every day for a year and a half. And I hadn't even noticed I had done this. And even though I hated him for pointing him out to his friend and introducing me in this way, it really hit home the message how fixated I was on saving money, because he was absolutely right. I had not changed that suit in a year and a half, and I had 3 Ralph Lauren shirts that I rotated through throughout the week for a year and a half. I literally had holes in my socks, and like I said, I was living in a £400 a month accommodation. I was so laser focused. This video isn't about having the most rocking, raging good time and living an extravagant lifestyle. This video is all focused about you putting in the work, putting it, grinding, and saving us money so you can speed run that financial independence and financial literacy. Once you're at that point, yes, I wear some clothes that I quite enjoy. I'm going to Madrid in a couple of days on a nice holiday. I'm buying a £500,000 house in a beautiful home for me and my friends and my family. It's so easy for someone who's good looking to tell you that looks aren't everything. It's so easy for someone to say who has money that money isn't everything. I'm telling you, if you come from a background like myself, where money was a daily struggle, money is everything until you have it. Absolutely now, money is not my main focus. Health is, my relationships are, my happiness is, then there's money. But I'm telling you, until that point, you should be doing whatever it takes. Sacrifice the socials on the weekend, sacrifice wearing the clothes, sacrifice living in that house, sacrifice going on that holiday, sacrifice driving that car. Because I'm at a point now in my life, I could buy multiple Teslas outright. I can live wherever I want, I can go wherever I want, and I've actually quit my job to start a business because I'm financially independent. And if you enjoyed this video, just smash a like, comment, do all that good stuff, and subscribe for my next video, because I think it's gonna be on how I quit my job, what I'm doing in my business, and how it's going over the last 6 months. I'll see you in the next video.